At 8:17 in the morning, the cafe windows begin to rattle. Cups tremble, power lines sway, and every phone in town receives the same emergency alert. This is a fictional survival simulation built from real volcanic hazards. In this scenario, officials believe an explosive eruption could cut the evacuation corridor within 1 hour. The mountain still looks distant, but a dark column is rising above the summit. The danger is not only lava. Ash, falling rock, lahars, and pyroclastic flows can close routes long before lava arrives. You are 6 kilometers from the evacuation boundary, inside a small tourist town built between a ridge road and a river valley. Both routes lead away from the volcano, but they do not carry the same risk. The sirens begin. Your clock starts now, 60 minutes to reach high ground beyond the mapped hazard zone. The first decision is not where to run. It is whether you leave immediately. Most evacuation failures begin quietly. One person searches for a charger. Another packs clothes. Someone drives back for a camera. Each delay feels small until every road shares the same lost minutes. You have space for one compact bag. Water, medication, documents, a battery radio, goggles, and a certified particulate respirator directly support survival. Heavy luggage only slows movement. An N95 respirator can reduce exposure to volcanic ash particles when fitted correctly. It does not filter toxic gases or create oxygen, so it cannot make a dangerous plume safe. Ordinary eyeglasses leave gaps. Sealed goggles better protect against abrasive ash, especially for anyone wearing contact lenses. Skin coverage also reduces irritation during sustained ashfall. You fill 2 bottles, take essential medicine, switch the radio on, and leave everything else behind. The bag is light enough to carry if the car becomes useless. Outside, the first coarse particles strike metal roofs. The sound resembles dry gravel. Visibility is still good, but the eruption column is spreading downwind toward the town. The fastest decision is now the safest one. Leave before the road becomes a parking lot, before ash thickens, and before officials must close bridges or low ground. At the first junction, the official ridge route is already moving slowly. A navigation app suggests a shorter road beside the river, saving 14 minutes under normal conditions. Normal conditions no longer exist. Volcano hazard maps treat valleys differently because gravity channels water, debris, hot material, and collapsing sediment into the lowest available terrain. A lahar is a fast-moving mixture of water, rock, ash, and debris. It can begin during an eruption, after heavy rain, or when volcanic material suddenly enters a river system. The empty valley road looks attractive precisely because informed drivers are avoiding it. A bridge may remain intact one moment and become the narrowest trap in the entire evacuation network the next. You ignore the shortcut and remain on the ridge. The choice costs time now, but it preserves elevation and keeps you away from a channel that can grow more destructive downstream. Behind you, several vehicles turn toward the river. The simulation will return to them later because survival is often decided before the hazard becomes visible. Ash begins to fall steadily. It is not soft fireplace dust. Volcanic ash is made of tiny fragments of rock, mineral, and volcanic glass that can irritate lungs and abrade machinery. The windshield turns gray. Dry wipers drag particles across the glass, leaving fine scratches. Headlights reflect from the airborne ash, and the visible road shrinks to a narrow corridor. Driving in heavy ash can clog filters, reduce engine power, damage moving parts, and hide hazards on the road. Slowing down helps, but it does not make unlimited driving safe. The car ahead accelerates to keep momentum. Its tires lift a second cloud from the road, worsening the visibility for everyone behind it. Panic creates its own environmental hazard. You lower your speed, increase distance, close the outside vents, and listen for official route updates. The engine temperature remains normal, but the air filter warning appears. A vehicle is useful only while it increases distance from danger. Once it becomes a sealed box in stalled traffic, it can consume the same minutes you were trying to save. 28 minutes remain. Traffic stops beside a concrete school outside the town center. Some families rush inside, believing any solid building must be safer than the open road. Shelter can reduce exposure during ashfall, especially when doors, windows, and outside air systems are closed. But shelter is not a universal answer to every volcanic hazard. A building in the path of a lahar or pyroclastic flow cannot be treated as a bunker. Location matters more than the thickness of the wall when the hazard carries heat, mass, and speed. Ash accumulation also adds weight to roofs, and wet ash can be especially heavy. A structure that looks strong from the street may have vulnerable spans above crowded rooms. The radio confirms that the ridge route remains open, while the valley bridge is under immediate closure. You stay in the car and move when the traffic line begins crawling again. This decision is conditional, not heroic. If officials had ordered shelter in place, or if driving had become impossible, the correct action could have been different. The eruption changes shape. Part of the vertical column loses momentum and begins folding downward near the summit. This is the moment the mountain becomes faster than any person. A pyroclastic flow is a dense, ground-hugging mixture of hot gas, ash, and rock. It typically follows slopes and valleys at speeds that make last-second escape unrealistic. The most important survival action occurs before the flow forms. Obey evacuation warnings and leave the mapped danger area early. Once it is close, courage cannot replace distance. From the ridge, you see a gray cloud descending a distant drainage, not toward your road, but toward the valley route you rejected. Its apparent slowness is an illusion of scale. The vehicles near the river now face falling ash, a closed bridge, and no safe way to cross the channel. Their earlier shortcut has become a decision they cannot reverse. The simulation does not pretend that every person in a hazard zone can always escape. Warnings, transport, mobility, road design, and public planning determine who receives a real chance. 18 minutes remain. Your engine begins losing power on the final ascent. The filter has ingested ash, and the vehicle can no longer maintain speed without overheating. You pull fully off the road before it stalls. Take the compact bag, cover your face and eyes, and continue on foot. Abandoning the car is now faster than protecting the car. The route climbs away from the valley through a line of low concrete walls. Wind carries ash across the slope, but the ground is stable and the evacuation beacon is visible ahead. Walking in ash increases breathing effort. You keep the respirator sealed, avoid unnecessary conversation, and use the radio instead of stopping to check unreliable messages on multiple apps. A man ahead tries to carry 2 suitcases and repeatedly rests. The problem is not strength. It is energy management under poor visibility, stress, heat inside protective clothing, and limited time. You share water without removing the respirator until the gust weakens, then continue. Helping another person matters, but the group cannot stop inside a route that authorities may close. 10 minutes remain. The checkpoint sits above the hazard zone on a broad sports field, where buses and medical teams can operate without blocking the narrow ridge road. Emergency workers record names, identify missing residents, and direct people away from the road. A successful evacuation ends with accountability, not with everyone standing beside the exit. The sky is nearly black at midday. Ash does not need darkness to be dangerous. It creates darkness by removing contrast, hiding obstacles, and turning familiar streets into uncertain terrain. From high ground, You can see the river valley disappear under a moving wall of mud and debris. The lahar carries branches, road barriers, and pieces of structures far beyond the volcano's base. The ridge route remains dusty but intact. Elevation did not stop the eruption. It reduced exposure to the specific hazards most likely to use the valley as a pathway. Your arrival time is 56 minutes after the alert. 4 minutes remain, but the route behind you is closing. The extra time came from leaving early, not from moving faster at the end. The immediate danger is not over. Authorities may restrict travel, test water, monitor roofs, and wait for additional explosions, rain-triggered lahars, or new ashfall before allowing anyone to return. You do not drive back for forgotten belongings. Fresh ash can hide holes, make roads slippery, damage engines, and become airborne again with every passing vehicle. Inside the shelter, ventilation is controlled and outdoor clothing is kept away from sleeping areas. Water and food remain sealed because ash contamination can continue after the visible fall weakens. The respirator is replaced when damaged or too difficult to breathe through. It is treated as protective equipment, not a magical barrier against every gas or every concentration. Updates come from the emergency radio and local authorities. Rumors travel faster than hazard maps, but a wrong message can send hundreds of people toward the same blocked route. Survival now depends on patience. Remain outside closed zones, avoid unnecessary ash exposure, and wait for official confirmation that roads, buildings, water, and air are safe enough. Now replay the first hour. Leaving immediately protected more time than any single tool. Packing light preserved mobility. Respiratory and eye protection reduced the ash burden during unavoidable exposure. Rejecting the river shortcut was the critical terrain decision. Valleys can concentrate lahars and pyroclastic flows, while bridges create fixed points where traffic cannot disperse. Slowing the vehicle reduced collision risk, but abandoning it became necessary when the engine stopped increasing your distance. Equipment is valuable only while it supports the evacuation objective. The school offered ash shelter, but its safety depended on location and hazard type. No building should be treated as universal protection from moving volcanic mass or extreme heat. The final rule is simple. You do not survive by outrunning a volcano. You survive by recognizing the warning, following official guidance, choosing safer terrain, and leaving before options disappear. So, with 60 minutes, 1 bag, 2 routes, and a sky turning black, would your first decisions carry you to high ground or trap you below it?